The Satanos mod just dropped in FNF, and it has an interesting set of characters that don't get talked about often, starting with, of course, Satanos, which if the name doesn't give it away, he's basically a virtual recreation of Satan that lives inside the digital world. Now, his backstory involves a bunch of devil worshippers getting together and creating a bunch of defective Sonic 1 games, and these are actually the games in which Satanos resides in. Now, what's interesting about this version of Sonic is that he only is powerful within the video game world, but he has the ability to insert himself in other games, meaning you could boot up Fortnite, Baldur's Gate, Roblox, and see this character inside the game, which of course would probably freak a lot of people out. And I think this is one of the aspects of his plans to actually get into the real world. There's two ways that Satanos can actually gather power, and that's either by breaking the game, which of course would be difficult for him to do, or causing fear and panic. And considering that he's fairly creepy looking and can appear in any game of his choosing, I would say that he has a pretty good chance of actually scaring people, especially children. And as I said earlier, it seems that if he gathers enough power, aka enough fear, he can actually manifest in the real world, which of course is the goal of that satanic cultist group. They basically want to bring a virtual devil into the real world, and if Satanos is even half as strong as Lord X or Sonic.exe, that would be disastrous. Now, I'm sure you probably all noticed that there's a brutalized version of Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Eggman in the mod, and they are basically like the same as the Soul characters in the Sonic.exe lore, but there's a slight difference here. While Santano obviously rips the characters apart and brutalizes them just like Sonic.exe, their reanimation is a bit different than the original, and if I'm being honest, I think is a bit more disturbing. Satanos has parasites in his bodies that actually look like black ooze, and you can actually see them depending on what pose he's in. They're especially obvious around his eyes. And when he devours his victims, the black parasites leak from his mouth and make their way into the body of his victims. Once there, the parasite basically hijacks the body by reproducing inside of it, making the corpse its new host, which in my opinion is way worse than just regular zombies. And of course is another reason that Satanos would be devastating if he ever made it into the real world. The next character we see in this mod is called No Name, and I had never actually heard about him before playing this mod, but he reminds me a lot of like a less evil Tails doll. He was the mascot for a company called Daredevils Inc., and he basically was used to promote all the games that the company launched while they were active. It seemed like this company was actually run by the satanic cultists that created Satanos, and sadly, after the cultists created the Sonic 1 copies that had Satanos inside of them, they abandoned the company overall and No Name with it. Now he basically just sits in this rundown warehouse hoping that somebody will come by so that he has somebody to talk to. And low-key, his story is actually kind of sad. The last character in the mod is called Wakitna, or at least I think that's how you pronounce it, and even though he kinda looks like Knuckles, he's actually an alien that can mimic the shape of anything that it sees. When he first arrived on Earth, one of the first things that he found was a copy of the game Knuckle Chaotic, which is why he looks like a busted version of Knuckles. But his true form is more like a gooey monster, which is why I think his second form is so elongated. All in all, some interesting characters, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this video on the screen here, subscribe to it if you can remember the Orseofkorse, and we'll see you tomorrow with another video. Peace, peace.